Nationals continuing to criticise the government's handling of the latest outbreak of COVID-19. They're saying the vaccine rollout has been too slow and the Parliament suspension means they're trying to shut down debate. With us now, the National Party leader, Judith Collins. Morena. If we can talk firstly about the situation with Parliament. I mean, that was suspended on the advice of the Director General of Health. So what's wrong with that?
Well, Parliament is required in a democracy to be able to sit, but we've also said too that this week we accepted that would have to happen for this week so everyone could work out ways of making it work. There are other ways in which other countries are being able to run their parliaments during these very difficult times. But the other thing too, Susie, is we've said to the government, and all the opposition parties have said this, all the parties except for Labour have said it, set up the COVID or the Epidemic Response Committee again, run by me as leader of the opposition, and have some real scrutiny going on. And at the same time, that generally works very well because people get a chance to speak, those who are coming in to give evidence, and also it keeps people better informed. So I don't know why the government doesn't want to have that.
Have you had any undertaking about why that is not happening? Is it simply because there is any sense that Parliament will be able to resume shortly?
No, we have not, Susie, and I think that is very concerning. Most people would think, who watched any of the Epidemic Response Committee last year during the first level 4 lockdown, realised that it worked very well, and that we would obviously also have learnt to be far better with our technology and use of Zoom than we were then. So there's no reason why it shouldn't be, and I don't understand why the government doesn't want to have this sort of scrutiny. The select committees that have been running this week, generally they've been working reasonably well. The problem is, of course, they are all controlled by the government, and that is one of the issues that we have. No scrutiny, no question time, nothing there. And, in fact, what we do need to have is an Epidemic Response Committee if it is still considered unsafe for Parliament to sit. I prefer Parliament to be able to sit in some form, but Epidemic Response Committee is obviously the next best option.
We are in a very different situation in New Zealand because I know you pointed to other countries where they are having parliaments operating, but also in other countries they have unchecked COVID-19 transmission. So, it's not the same scenario. If the Director General of Health continues to say it would not be safe for Parliament to sit, what will you be pushing for?
Well, we're still pushing for an Epidemic Response Committee. I don't see the Director General saying we shouldn't have an Epidemic Response Committee. That's just ridiculous because we do all that by Zoom. So quite clearly there is an issue here, and the government looks like to us as though it doesn't want to have the level of scrutiny that most people would expect. We're in unprecedented
But the government
time.
had it last time, so what has changed?
I don't know what's happened to them because last time they accepted it, last time it worked very well, and this time, 18 months later, they're running from it. So I think, Susie, that question should be put to the Prime Minister.
Can we talk a little bit about the vaccine rollout as well? You've consistently, National's been consistently saying that the rollout should have been faster. What precisely would you have done faster and better, though? Because
it's a good question, and I'm happy to answer that. We have, for a start, we would have ordered the vaccine earlier. So the Prime Minister has, or the government has now admitted they didn't actually raise their very first order for the vaccine until the 29th of January. That is absolutely unacceptable. We were late ordering it, we were late getting it approved, we were late all the way through, and there has not been that sense of urgency about getting people vaccinated.
But isn't this exactly the problem, though? Because if we had been vaccinating earlier, then wouldn't New Zealand have been taking doses of vaccine from other countries who probably, could make the argument, would need it a lot more when they had people sick and dying?
Well, actually, there's nothing to stop Pfizer from making more vaccine. We could also have ordered...
Well, they have capacity.
Well, of course they have capacity, and so we could have actually got the vaccine. We could have looked at the cost of asking for it earlier, because ultimately that would have been about 40 to 50 million, we're told. That's nothing compared to the $1.5 billion that the government's own estimates are that this level 4 lockdown is costing the country.
So you would have been happy to pay more to jump the queue to take vaccine potentially from other countries who had people sick and dying?
Well, let's put it this way. We were promised in September by this government 1 year ago that we would be front of the queue. Actually, we're 120th in the world, Susie. No amount of flim-flam or spin can get past the fact that we are appallingly low in our vaccination rates. And that slackness has led to a complacency. And that complacency now is we're rushing around testing everybody. We should have been rushing around vaccinating people. And even when we had the vaccination in the country in large amounts or large levels, we didn't vaccinate early enough and we didn't put enough urgency. So one of the things we'd do, Susie, is we'd set some targets and give New Zealanders a real wish to go and let's meet that target and then get to the next target, just because we like that. We're very competitive by nature, and it's a great thing. We love to have the whole country working in the same direction. And we'll be doing things like talking about why it's good to get vaccinated. And we'll be looking to our younger people who do have some concerns around the vaccine about what's in it for them. So we'd have a vaccine passport. We'd have something in it so people could say, oh, look, here I am and I'm vaccinated. So we'd be able to avoid level 4 lockdowns. That's the point, Susie. Get everyone vaccinated. I'm double vaccinated, very happy. The next thing, the government must order the booster. Well, because that booster is going to be needed.
Well, the booster is the same vaccine, to be fair, though.
Yeah, it is, and it's going to be needed, and there'll be another one next year. You can understand. I mean, the Prime Minister talked about this in January this year. She said, look, she wants to get everyone vaccinated, double vaccinated, and it'll probably end up being like a booster like we do with the winter flu every year, and it will get down to those sorts of levels of fatality. That's probably where we will end up, but we need to get on with it. So, really impressed by all the effort that's gone in around testing. We'll be much more impressed if saliva testing had been introduced as the Simpson-Roach report recommended last August, a year ago, and hasn't been done.
Thanks very much, Judith Collins there, the National Party